Good evening, everybody. What we got here? We got 38 people. That's more than I expected to see on New Year's Eve. Hope everybody's had a wonderful holiday up so far, and everybody stays safe over the upcoming festivities. So, who all we got in the audience here tonight? 28 folks. We got our usual folks. We got Chris, and Chris, I tell you what, man. Chris and Saber Gum had me going this week after my last video. Both of them had me really racking my brains. I by no means profess to be a Lightburn guru or professional or laser professional, and I promise you I will never claim to be any good at grammar. But Chris had me really scratching my head this week, and we'll talk about that in a second. Lori, hello, Lori. Jeff, good to see you. Of course, we got Jack in the shop, but Jack, you weren't the first one in the stream, but at least not the first one commenting tonight. You must have been asleep. Let's see. We're not going to waste a whole lot of time, but what I am going to do is I'm going to recap a little bit about what I discussed in the last video that we did this week that wasn't live, when we talked about all the ways of formatting this different text, and we'll talk about all the grammatical errors and all the fun we've had with that this week and all the aggravation we've had with it this week. And then we're actually going to design that logo. And how do we get there? Somewhere. We're going to design this logo in real time here. And it might have been Jeff or somebody put a comment in Facebook one about they wanting to address the offset, and I think they were talking about the offset that I used to create the void for the soft kitty in there. And if that is great, we are going to go over that. But if there's something at the end of this discussion that you also want to know something about that I haven't covered, put it in the comments and let me know, and I'll do my best to try and figure it out. I've actually got in fact, let's see, switch. Nope, that didn't switch. Switch. I'm burning a second board, and it's about finished. And I don't know if there's enough interest and you guys might like to have this. I'll see about trying to give this thing away. I don't know. I've never done that before on my stream, but we'll take a look and see. All right. So, what's I noticed the stir wasn't stir, but I also didn't think that one got burned either. I tell you, there was a lot of grammatical errors in there. Is that Deanna? In Chicago, Bob, I've been kind of stalling a little bit because I seen you weren't here. You haven't missed anything. I've been waiting for you to get here before I begin. So now we can start. So, and guys, I do try and answer questions and comments on in Facebook after you make a comment or a question in any of the videos. And this cutting board got a lot of comments. There were a lot of comments on this because of all the screw ups in it. And I kid you not, that this recipe I've been using this recipe since I was probably old enough to read. My mom had a cookbook that she got when she first got married, and it was sold through the Ladies Auxiliary or something like that, and all kinds of recipes in it. But this is exactly how it was written in the cookbook. And Saber Gum pointed out in the comments, he says, hey man, it probably should read either 1 cup of margarine or cream, or it should say 1 cup of butter or cream a cup of margarine. And I was like, well, this is perfection. I don't tamper with perfection, because I never, in the entire 40 some odd years of looking at this recipe, because we make these about once a year, I've never noticed that the way it was written in the cookbook, it said 1 cup of margarine, and then the instructions said cream butter until light. So I went in and changed that. But then there are tons and tons of grammatical errors in there that I thought I saw all of them, but I didn't. And Chris Gallagher, he brought up, I've got in here the world's best oatmeal cookie, world's with the apostrophe, and there it is, and then the S. And Chris was like, well, I think maybe it's regional thing, but it shouldn't be S apostrophe or. And then I got to thinking about it. It's like, no, that wouldn't be right. And then I said, but maybe it shouldn't have it. And so I was questioning myself left and right. Finally, I had to contact an English teacher. And Chris, the answer is this is correct because I'm implying the world's best. So we're showing possession, the world's possession. It is this their best cookie. And then when it's a noun that does not end in an S, it's apostrophe S. But if it was Chris's best oatmeal cookie, then it would be after the S. So when a noun ends in an S, the apostrophe comes afterwards. When it doesn't, but Chris had me scratching my head for about a day. Finally, I had to reach out to an English teacher and say, "Hey, help me out here." All right, so yeah, grammar. What is that exactly? We're in redneck South. Y'all. It ain't even a word, y'all. But I talked about how this formatting was done, where this, in my early days when I wanted to do this, I would type out a line of text, then start a new line of text, and then start a third line of new text. And once I had 4 or 5 different separate lines, grab those and then align them all to the left. Do the same thing up here and align them all to the right, because that was just the way that I knew that I could get it to do what I wanted it to do. But I talked in that video about how those alignment features work in Lightburn. But Lightburn's, not their support, but Lightburn's manual doesn't give you a whole lot of instructions about it. It just tells you what it is. And I seen something when I was playing with this. And let's jump over to Lightburn. I'm going to touch on a couple of things that I went over in that video that I've learned since the video. Then we're going to jump in to this and the remaining tools that I didn't discuss in that video. So let's jump over to Lightburn. Let me get the right set there and switch. And so the tools that I used to create that alignment are up here, the align X and the align Y. And I'm going to put a toolpath out here, or just anything, put a toolpath. Hey, with the engraving finished, I'll turn this laser off. Maybe I get a little quieter in here. And the fans. Okay. I don't know about y'all, but that sounds better to me. All right, I'm going to put that on toolpath. Now I'm going to come up here and I'm going to grab my text. First, I'm going to deselect that toolpath, grab the text tool, the black layer. And before I start typing, I'm going to come up here to this align X and align Y. And right now what I want to do is I want to put this text in this top corner of this toolpath. I want it to start here and then come right down the left side of that toolpath. So to do that, I need to select my text tool and I want to align it to the left and I want to align it to the top. And then I can start right there. And as I begin to type, it's going to keep that starting position right there. It is anchored to that position and it will continue to type on down as, that's its anchored point. And I was like, oh, okay. Because what I was doing in that earlier video is I had all of this set up and I was like, okay, now that I got that, I'd select it, shrink it down and then move it around and find its right position. But if you know the right text size, like here it's 13.58, if I come back and just grab my font again, using the same font size, but I want to put it in this corner, now I'll change my alignment to the right and I'll leave it to the top and I can come right over here in this top corner. And as I start to type, Now it's feeding out from the right side. So I'm like, okay, that's cool. Now I figured out how that works. And I was like, all right, I didn't fully understand that and that function when I explained it in the previous video. So I thought, you know what? I will clarify that now as we start this video. Now, let's talk about bending text, because we're going to be creating this logo and the text is wrapped in a circular place. I can't even see my own. There we go. With that there being wrapped around the circle, there are a couple of ways you can do that. And a couple of them are, one of them's real simple. You can just bend the text, and that's what we're going to talk about here. But there are problems when you're trying to position it in a logo like that, when you just simply bend the text. And you may be doing this already, but maybe you're not. If you're got to switch to the cameras, switch, there we go. Now we're going to grab a text and we're going to put it on the black layer, and I'm going to just type out bending text, and I'm going to zoom in here. Bending text. And once you've typed that out, now you'll see up here that this little blue dot is way up there in the top. And you may not have ever seen it there, and that's because of where I have these alignment positions right now. If I change that alignment position to middle, which is where you probably have yours set by default, you'll find that little blue dot right over there. But as you change your alignment positions, that anchor is going to move around in different places. But you grab that blue dot right there, and you can start to bend that text. Now, when you bend text, it kind of gets a little bit distorted. It's like the end doesn't rotate with that curve. It's kind of still wanting to stay up straight. But that's what this distort feature is for. I mentioned that in the last video, but I didn't show you an example of it. When you bend your text, you can then use this distort tool, and it will begin to, and this particular font's not the greatest. So let's, for demonstrating that, if I change that to Arial and we bend that down, and now you do your distort. So that starts to look a little bit better whenever you're doing a bended text. But now when you use a bended text, you get that, and you can actually see the circle that it's bending it around. But when you try to rotate it, it rotates on its own center axis. And you'll see that's going to be a problem whenever we try to put this on a logo in a second. So bending text, if you were going to build a logo starting with creating all your text first, and then you were going to put the circles around it, then that might would work. But with what we're going to be doing, this is not the most friendly way to do this. Now, another thing that you run into with this align Y is you can use that to align your text to a line. So if I grab my pencil and I'm just going to draw out a straight line, and I'm going to put it on a toolpath. Hopefully you'll still be able to see it. Select it, put it on toolpath. Now that that's on a toolpath, I'm going to grab my text tool, and I'm going to put in here. We'll still call this bending text, but we're not really bending it with the bending tool. Put that on a black layer. There we go. Now, if I take that text, move it over here where I can see it, and I'm going to do, in fact, you know what? I'm going to change that to, I'm going to change that text, because I'm going to do 3 different examples here. Alignment, top, not tucked or tip, top, And then we're going to do, I want to duplicate that and move it down here. And I'm going to do alignment middle. And I know a lot of you guys said, hey, I thought we were going to design a logo. Well, we are going to design a logo, but these tools are what we're going to be using to do. And I want you to see what they do when they do what they do, so that when you start to try and do some of this stuff on your own, you're like, oh yeah, I remember I can do that. Or I remember that's how that works. Not y'all top. All right. So I have 3 different text here, and I'm going to use this X or the Y align to align these different positions in relation to the toolpath that's underneath them currently. So first I'm going to select this tool and I'm going to change my alignment to the top. Now that just moved the text. It still has nothing to do with the toolpath at this point, but I'm going to select my text, hold my shift key and select that toolpath, right click and apply path to text. And when you do that, now they are linked together and the toolpath is on top of the text. I select this one and I leave it to middle, hold my shift key, select the toolpath, right click, apply path to text. That toolpath is in the middle of the text there. And there's a reason that I've got these on a toolpath and not on a line, because if I put that on a line, you'd be able to see it much, much better. But there's a reason for that, and I'll explain that in a second too. So now I'm going to grab this alignment top and hold my shift key and select the toolpath. And well, you know what? I got to change my alignment first, and I need to change that to bottom. Text, not top, bottom. Hold my shift key, grab that toolpath, and dadgummit, I forgot to change the bottom. Change alignment to bottom. Hold my shift key, grab that toolpath, right click, align path to bottom. Now that toolpath is on the bottom of that text. It's in the middle here, it's in the top there. Now, if I grab any one of these toolpaths, and I'll grab this one since we're down here at the bottom, I'm grabbing only the toolpath. I did not select the font. I only selected the toolpath. And then I come over here and I turn it on the node editor. If I come down here and grab any part of that toolpath, that font, that text is part of that line. No matter what I do to that line, that text is going to stay there. So when I need to wrap this around a certain point on a logo, I can bend that and move it and change the alignment. And you can't do that when you just have bended text. And if you get really bored and there's nobody around and you just want to make your text dance, you can just sit here and come on now, grab it and, you know, make it do the worm from 1987. So let's see what everybody's talking about. Anybody got any questions or any comments regarding what I've talked about up to this point? Switch. All right. So yes, Bob, I'm glad that you made it, and we waited just for you. So that's where I left off. Jack in the shop has got a question. Says, I got one for you. You may have seen in Facebook group align slots and tabs. Yes, that's going to be a video that I'm actually going to be doing. My next topic is going to be in depth on nodes, node alignment, positioning, and there is a very neat trick to doing that. And so, yes, I did see that, and I forget who it was that made that comment or that needed that done. And I posted to them, yes, that's what I'm going to be doing in the next video. That won't be a live, it'll be a video. And then I may follow up with it on a live, kind of like I'm doing here. All right. Yeah, grammar. What is that? It's Jeff Jeff Benedict. Grammar are crackers that you melt chocolate and marshmallows on. I like that. Uh, let's see. I don't want to get too far down a rabbit hole and somebody have questions about something that I've talked about. And and yes, Chicago Bob, there are many references there to the Big Bang Theory. It's uh, Mary C's Soft Kitty Cafe. Mary C, of course, being Mary Cooper, because Mary was the one who in Little Sheldon or Young Sheldon. I guess she's really the only one that's ever sung Soft Kitty. In the Big Bang Theory, eventually there was 3 or 4 people that sang Soft Kitty. But yes, that is Big Bang Theory. Uh, no, guess. uh, yeah, Soft Kitty, Fluffy Kitty, little ball of fur. Yes, and Chris is like, "Oh no, now I'm going to be singing it. You got an earworm. You got to love it." All right, a lot of discussions, but no questions. Okay, and Mark, I'm glad you're here. You're not really late. I was just kind of recapping some of the things I talked about in the last video. Hopefully you've seen that and this is not too old. But you haven't missed any of the really good stuff where we're going to actually be designing the logo. That's coming up right now. So if there are no further questions, let's switch back over here to Lightburn. And we're going to clear all this off. I got to do my selector tool. And we'll drag from the right and just delete it. All right. Now, before we jump into Lightburn, I'm going to show you a tool that I use. It's one of my favorites for grabbing SVGs. Just like this, I promise you, you can search the internet and you will not find a Mrs. or a Mary C's Soft Kitty Cafe anywhere. That came out of here. But the inspiration for this layout came from another logo that I seen on svgheart.com. And if we go over to here, let's see, there and change that and go here, there we go. So this is svgheart.com. Now, I'm not being paid to mention them or feature them. I pay for my membership to this account. This is a great resource for finding some really good quality SVGs. You do not have to have their premium membership. You can get lots of free SVG files here. And what I did when I was looking for a logo, I was actually not even looking for a logo. I was searching for cookies because I was doing the cookie recipe. So I just typed in cookie and searched for that. And I said, okay, that's great. In fact, I'll be using those. And as I got on down, where did oh no, it wasn't even cookie. I was looking for cocoa. And I said, okay, I'm going to do a cafe. So I said, let's do cafe. And I searched cafe, and that one. Frosty Snowflake Cafe, hot cocoa served with love. I was like, okay, that's cool. I like that. But I want to recreate that of my own style and my own lettering words. And the problem with that is, in fact, we're going to go ahead and download that. Download again, yes, because I don't know where it's at to begin with. All right, so I'm going to download that. I'm going to go back to my cookie. And I'm going to download that. And we'll go ahead and look for the coffee. And I kind of like that one right there. And all I want is this coffee cup. I don't want anything else about this particular SVG, but I'm going to copy that, or not copy it. I'm going to download that. Download. So now those three are in my download folder. So I'm going to, and while we're here real quick, I'm going to just show you guys the premium SVGs. The stuff that these, and they've got everything. In fact, I think it said somewhere there's 10,000 SVGs, but lots of stuff about New Year's here, Christmas, your good old Highland cow, really great SVGs of Jesus Christ, Santa Claus holding a beer, smiling. Hey, the holidays are over. So if you're not familiar with this svgheart.com, you might want to make it a go-to place when you need to get some artwork, because it is free and it is for crafters. All right, so now let's go back to Lightburn. And now I've downloaded all those. I'm going to import. First, I'll bring in Frosty Snowflake, because I want to show you this now that I can zoom in and show you really nice and turn off. There we go. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to leave him up there. So when I'm looking at this and I'm going to recreate it, you've got to be able to look at this design and reverse engineer it. So I could take this and I could actually break it down and start deleting parts of the snowflake, the word snowflake, and try and put in the font and the script that I want, but it's not going to match and line up with that cutout. So I'm going to figure out how to reverse engineer it and put my font exactly positioned on there with the right cutouts. So I'm like, the first thing I need are all my circles. And I've got 1, 2, 3 different size circles, and the bands or the width of them are also varying. I had Frosties or whatever it was, Snowflake in there. And I'm like, okay. So we're going to start doing our own. But now let's import these other graphics. Now that I've imported that one, I'm going to import my coffee cup. All right, and all I want of that particular one is my coffee cup. Right now, this is showing that this is one piece, or it's not. Now I'm going to make it, ungroup it, I should say. And now with that ungrouped, I can grab all the coffee, say goodbye, grab all of that, say goodbye. Now grab that and group it back together. So now I've got a coffee cup, and this is already an SVG. I don't have to copy and trace it. It's already an SVG. I'm going to grab that and bring it over here with my, and those are a little bit big in proportion to my coffee cup. So I'm going to shrink it down just a little bit. And those are going to be used in my logo. So I was able to save a lot of time by not having to worry about trying to create that artwork. I could, but I can use this and not feel like I'm copying anybody's piece, because I'm going to be using these elements in my own piece. So the first thing I want to do when I'm creating that round logo is to draw out a circle. Put it on a cup or a path we can see. I'm going to put it in line mode. And then I'm going to start making copies. I'm going to say Control D and duplicate that. And I'm going to shrink it down a little bit. Say, and I didn't keep that centered up. I obviously did not hold Control. Let's try that again. Control D and hold Shift. Shift, shrink it down. Why is it? Oh, that's because my alignment's not right. No, I'm not. I'm holding Shift. Why is it not? Because I need to. What am I doing wrong, girls, boys? Let's see. Got to hold Control, not Shift. All right. I'm getting myself confused. So we'll duplicate it. Control D, duplicate it, hold the Control button, and shrink it down just a little bit. I'm going to hit Control D, duplicate it, hold the Control button, and shrink that one down a little bit. Control D, duplicate it, shrink it down a little bit. Control D again, and shrink that one down quite a bit. And Control D again and shrink it down a little bit. Now this one, I actually want to make that like that maybe. And then I'm going to grab both of them and draw it out to about there. And then shrink this one down just a wee bit. And now I can grab all of those, put them in fill mode and take a look at them. I'm like, okay, I'm kind of liking that. You know, I just don't want them all being symmetrical. I don't want them all the same. And there is no mathematical equation here. Yeah, so let's see. I got a lot of things going on over here in the comments and see if there's anything. Oh, yeah, I need to. Chicago Bob, thank you. Thank you, brother. Thank you very much. Your contributions are always greatly appreciated. And it looks like we had another one too. Richard, thank you. You do an awesome job of explaining Lightburn functions. I try as I learn stuff. And like talking to Rich earlier tonight, and he got excited. He thought maybe I found something new in Lightburn. But that text editor that I showed in the video, he's like, oh, man, I was hoping you found something new. Well, that wasn't new to me. I'd never seen it. Probably new to a lot of you folks. But as I learn it, even if it might have been in Lightburn since version 1, if it's new to me, I'm going to share it with my viewers. Because if I haven't shared it, and I don't know if you've seen it or not. So I'm going to share what I learned as I learn it. Let's see here. Oh, wow. Hey, we got another redneck in the house. David, that's David Mercer Outdoors. He's getting a blossoming YouTube channel. Jack in the Shop, Dave, is another Gaston County redneck. So we're getting a lot of locals are in here. Is that a beer clock? I don't know. If it was something that was in SVG, you'll have a heart SVG heart. You have to go check that out. All right, question mark. Jesse, what are the units associated with the H space and vertical space? The H space. Oh, I don't know. Wait a minute. No. That's yes. I think it, and this is, man, this is the question that I was hoping would never come up, because I think that has to do with the font size. And the font size, this question came up at Lightburn Experience, and we're going to get off on a tangent here. That's why I said I hope it didn't come up. I think it has to do with font size, and font size doesn't really work that well as the way it's supposed to in Lightburn, because from the research that I studied, the font size is points. It's not pixels or millimeters. It is points. And from what I understand, the capital X in a font, if you tell it to be a font size of 37, that's supposed to be, I think, 1 inch, because each point is 1/37th of an inch. But that doesn't hold true in Lightburn. And that's only on a capital X. And all of the other letters in the font are scaled according to the capital X. But if you draw out a capital X and tell it to be a point size 37 and then draw a box around it and check, it's not 1 inch. And it's also not uniform from font to font to font. And I think that's something that has to do with the way that Lightburn works with fonts. So I think it has to do with points, but it's also kind of an irrelevant, because there's no way to give it an actual fixed number, because it's going to change from font to font. That's the way I understand it. So, Lori says she wants to see the words do the worm again. Okay, she loves the 80s music. Yeah, well, I was not a beatboxer or a breakdancer. I did watch a few of them. Let's see here. And Richard says he uses that SVG heart all the time. It is a great resource. I just did a project where I had to warp and distort text, and you just showed me an easier way to do it with the toolpath. You always have great tips and tricks. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I normally search for images. All right. Looking for any questions. Well, we got 87 people watching. Hey, all right. Good. Great. I love it. I love it. Looking for questions before I jump back in here and move on. All right. And Clack saying that 1 point can range from point, and this is, I'm guessing, Clack, you're talking about in Lightburn. It can range from anywhere from 0.18 to 0.4 millimeters. And I don't think that it's supposed to, but I think that's what it does do in Lightburn. I think 1 point is supposed to be a fixed value with the fonts. But that's the way I understand it. And I loved your box today with the ZNC. Let's see here. Oh, and you know what? Chicago Bob might be right here. He was under the impression that H space and V space was a percentage. And I think that he is absolutely correct. It is that is a percentage, but it's a percentage of the font size. So that's why I remembered it had to do with the font. But H space and V space is a percentage of the font size. So if you're using a font size of 10 and you tell it to do an H space of 10, then it's a percentage of the font height. And yes, you are right, Bob. I yield to you, sir. It is a percentage of the font size is what that value comes to. Question mark ET says, any way to have one laser in Lightburn set to inches, another one set to millimeters without having to swap? We'll talk about that. We'll bring that up again, but let's keep on. I want to keep on with this logo. That's what we were supposed to be doing about the logo tonight. And then I'll get to, at the end of the logo creation, any questions like that, I am happy to try and look at and figure out. All right. And yes, Carl saying a question mark at the beginning of your statement was because I'm trying to scan through and make sure I'm getting everything. So if you have a question regarding something we're talking about right now with the logo stuff, put a question mark, then your question, because I'm looking for that right there in the beginning. All right. So I'm going to move on now. Take Carl off the screen. We're going to jump back over here. All right. So I set up my base, my circles for my logo. And I want this to be Mary C's Soft Kitty Cafe. I'm going to put Mary C's wrapped around up here in the top, and put Soft Kitty great big and across there, and cafe underneath it. So, and I'm going to use my brush script, deselect everything, select my font, come up here, and I've got my favorites set up. I'm going to come here to brush script, and I'm going to start typing. Make sure all my alignment's right. No, they're not. So before I start typing, I want middle, middle. And now I'll start typing soft. I'm not typing. Typing, middle, middle, soft, kitty. Now, I want this to be at an angle across the front of this. Now, you can get this at an angle several different ways. You can rotate. In fact, and I say it a lot. You can do everything in Lightburn 10 different ways. And if you get to the same, didn't want to do that. Control Z, undo. If you get to the same result, doesn't really matter. But you seen there, I just grabbed the rotation handle up here and just started rotating that. Now, the problem with doing that this way is I don't have any way of knowing to what angle I'm rotating that. And I plan to put the word cafe down here underneath it. And because I am OCD about wanting things exactly symmetrical, exactly right, I want the word cafe to be perfectly parallel to Soft Kitty. And since I did not have any way of knowing where that's at, that's going to be a problem. So I'm putting that back to where she's just like she's typed out. I'm going to put it in the, I'll put it in the center for now. That's lined up to center, and I'm going to take her up just a little bit. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my rotation tool up here. And by rotating it a fixed number, I know exactly the angle it's at. So I'm going to tell it to rotate negative 20 degrees. And I like that angle. That looks good. And I know that because that's what I've used in the past. And then I had that aligned to center, but it didn't look good. So I'm actually moving that slightly off, because when somebody looks at your logo, if you have that lined up perfectly center, but it doesn't look good, then it don't look good. So here it's no longer center justified, but it looks better. And I'm going to shrink that down to about there. And I know that it's rotated at negative 20 degrees. Now, someone mentioned about talking about offsets, and I'm hoping this was what they're talking about. If not, we'll go over that too. But now what I want to do is I want to create space between Soft Kitty, the text, the font, and these circles. Right now, I don't like that overlapping. It doesn't look good. So what I'm going to do is select the font, and I'm going to use my offset tool, select my font, and I'm going to use my offset tool, and I'm going to zoom in here tight. That inner line that's got the ants running around it, that is the original font size. And I'm going to look at there. That looks pretty decent. That gives me a good gap. I'm going to make sure that I'm selecting my outer results. Actually, it don't even matter because I'm going to have to select everything else first. But one thing you want to make sure is you have your delete original objects turned off. You do not want to delete your original object. You say, okay. And you're doing an outward round offset. And as far as the size is what looks good to you. Now, none of those circles are grouped right now. So what I've got to do is just drag it from the right to the left, touching all those circles and group them. Now that those are grouped, I can hold my shift key, zoom in here, and select that offset that I just created. And now I can use my subtract tool, and that just subtracted that gap from the offset and creates the space for all of the circles. And it's all of them because I selected them all and grouped them all up. Now, these little bitty pieces right here, I don't like that. I'm going to make them go away. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all those circles, because right now those are all still grouped together. I'm going to ungroup everything. And when I do, that's going to make those pieces individual pieces. But instead of having to go around and look for all of those pieces, I'm just going to select this one right here and come up here to Tools and say Select Shape Smaller Than Selected. And this is not named correctly, because if it selects shapes smaller than selected, it would not select the shape that you picked. So it should say Select Shapes this size and smaller or something. I don't know. But when you click that, it's going to pick everything in this design that is that shape or smaller. And now you can hit the delete button. And it's going to clean them all up at one time. You don't have to go looking for that. Now I'm going to group all this together so I don't move anything accidentally. I'm going to type out my word cafe. I want it to be much smaller, and it needs to be negative 20 degrees. And you see it snap right there. That's exactly in the center of the logo. And I'm going to shrink her down a little more. And I kind of like that. All right. So anybody got any questions here so far about that? Remember, question marks before your comment or your question, so I know it's a question. Let's see. Hey, Steve. Steve's in the shop, Steve Ventari, and I just told Clack I liked his heart. I liked your bottle opener. You did too. But I don't know if things are different up there. It was in Minnesota, but down here we get pulled over carrying something like that in our pocket. We'd get arrested for carrying a concealed weapon. That was a big bottle opener. Come in handy if you're a bartender, though. We'll go hide away. All right. Let's see. All right, no question marks. What's Chris saying? You can use a soft return control enter to get a second line parallel. I don't know what that is, Chris. You can use soft return to get second line. Oh, okay. You to make them parallel to each other. Okay, I didn't know that. Okay. All right. Another thing that you can do, for the text cafe, I didn't control enter to make them pair. I didn't know you could do that. Now I do. Say thank you. Another thing you can do, go back to Lightburn, is whenever you use the align to use a text. I'm trying to say it, but I can't say it, so I'll just type it. If you use the tool where you align your text to a path, there we go. And if you were rotating all of this and you use the rotation tool and you don't know what angle that was, but you know you wanted to put something to that, and that control enter is going to be really cool. But say control D and duplicated that line. So now if I just select one of those and select that word test and I align path to text, right now it's aligned in the middle. But if I take and I select or I type another text out here, any text, another text, select that, and then select. In fact, I may need that one may be on top. Yep, that's the original. I'll put that on toolpath for right now. So now I'm only seeing that black line and that black line. Oh, sorry. Select the font first, select the black line, align the path. It's not going to let me do it because it's not seeing it. I need to put that on toolpath. There we go. Now I've got just the black line. But you can align both of those. It's not letting me do it. There we go. Turn that off so I can see it. But if you align it to, and we're going to change this alignment to the top instead of the middle. And now align the path. There we go. That would make them all parallel too. Like I said, there are so many ways to do stuff in Lightburn. There is no one wrong way or one right way. That's what I love about this. And I love playing with all the different tools. And there might be 10 ways to do it quicker. But sometimes it's just like, okay, what will this do? And what can I do next? All right, so now that I've got those two in there, I'm going to create two bullets real quick. Just draw out a circle, and I'm going to grab that and put it down here. It's a little bit big. Put that there. Control D, duplicate it, so I have the exact same size bullet, and I'm going to put it over here about 180 degrees opposite, and it's going by look here. I'm looking at the space from the bottom of my T and the bottom of the S there, so they're kind of got the same distance from Soft Kitty, and I get them centered up in that, and that looks good to me. And that's all that matters when you're doing graphic design, is what's pleasant to the eye. Sometimes being perfectly symmetrical is not as pleasing to the eye. Now I need to do Mary C's, and I want Mary C's to be wrapped in this part of the circle. And here is where you have a problem with bended text. Mary, in fact, I don't want that logo. I actually don't matter. I can change it. Mary C's. And I'm going to change my font staying in my favorites, Baskerville. And here I'm going to increase my H space to 10% of 17.55 to increase that additional spacing between Mary C's. But here now, if I take my bending tool and just bend that down, it's going to, I could actually bend that right around that circle and get it to where it's, oh, man, that's the perfect size, the perfect. But the problem is when I try to put that in here, and then I want to rotate it, I don't want it top dead center. I want it over here rotated at the same 20-degree angle. You know, I didn't try this. I wonder what happens if I tell it to rotate negative 20 degrees. Let's see. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen here. Rotate negative 20 degrees. Yeah, that won't work because it's rotating on its center axis. So this is not where you want to use bended text. So what I do, and we're going to use that align to path. I can come over here and everything's deselected. I select my tool path and I select my pencil tool, and I come right here in the center of that logo. And I need to be able to see the other side over here. I come right here in about the middle of that, and it don't have to be perfect because we're going to be moving this around, but I just start drawing a line, not straight line, there to about there. And left click, then right click to stop. So now that line is started at about the midpoint there and ends at about the midpoint there. Now I need, did I get rid of Mary C's? Yeah, I did. Mary C's. Put that on a black layer. Now, I've got that close to about the right size because I can look here and put that. That looks like that's pretty good, decent space. But then the problem is your Y is coming down below that line. So that's extending way down here. That may be still a little bit big. I'm going to shrink her just a little bit more. Hold my shift button, select that tool path, right click, align path to text. You're like, well, that's great. It's aligned to text. And right now I didn't change my middle alignment or top alignment because none of that really matters in this particular instance. But now I need to get this up here. How do you do that? I simply go back over here to the node editing tool, and I'm going to just grab that tool path and start bending that path anywhere I want it to be. And that's starting to look pretty decent right there. But you can grab these tangents, and if you didn't have it quite where you needed it to be, you could move that and bend it however you needed to. But that looks pretty decent right there. Now, the reason I put these on tool paths, I'm glad you asked this. When you put this out here, if you did not put that on a tool path, if you put it on a line, in fact, if I change that right there to a line, you can see that that's on the black layer. That would engrave that line, and you wouldn't want to do that. So if you put it on a black layer and you say, well, I don't want it to engrave, and then you hit, you've got that line selected and you try to delete it, it's going to delete everything. Because when you align your text to a path, it is now one and the same object. You cannot delete one or the other. You can still change that and make that a tool path, so it's going to stay there and it won't make any marks. And I see some questions, so let's jump over here real fast. Let's see. Jack, man, thank you, brother. Thank you. Yeah, Jack just threw 20 at me, and I appreciate you. I always think of him. And I'll tell you why, you know why, and I'll tell y'all why. He is local, and I have sent several folks in his direction to do engraving and jobs that I either can't do, and actually both of them was fiber related stuff, and I don't have any fibers, and I know that he's more than capable, and I can trust him to take care of the folks I send his direction. So yeah, Clack's saying yes, you can add spaces to change your origin. So and that's almost also like changing if it's aligned to middle and you start adding spaces before it or after it, it's going to push that text up and down the line to help move its position on that line, just like you would change the alignment left or right. So yep, you could add spaces and change your positioning. Gillette, can you duplicate the inner curve and convert it to a path? And yeah, you could. But the problem with that though is you're not going to be able to have the flexibility if you wanted to actually change and move and wrap that around in different place. I like having that flexibility of that line. I can move it and do things with it in any way I want. But we'll try that. We got to do text at the bottom. We're going to do what is it? Served with love. So if y'all don't follow what he's asking, you'll see just a second. We're going to try his question and see what happens. Served with love, we're going to put it at the bottom and try doing that with his question. And Clack says, yes, that's usually the way he'd go. You know, I didn't do it, didn't think about doing it. But hey, we're getting ready to see what happens. So let's jump back over there. And we're going to put, in order to be able to grab those, I'm going to have to ungroup them. And I'm going to put them on align mode so I can see everything. And right now that's not one line. And that's okay. I'm going to say Control D, duplicate that, put it on a toolpath. And then, but the problem is here, I can drop that down, but it's still, I guess you could stretch that out like that. And I've never done it before, but I guess there's a way you could make that work. And like I said, there's no one way to do things. But since I'm not familiar with that, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to delete that. We'll leave that in line mode for right now. I'm going to grab the pencil tool again. And I'll just come right there, draw a line from there to there. Right click to stop. Grab my font. And this one I'll do. And typically, you don't want to use all caps when making a sign because all caps are harder to read. But I want to give this some different variations in fonts and characteristics. So that, and select that with my right click and then, or left click now, right click, apply it to path. And now you see that it cut off a lot of it. But as I begin to bend that and make that line longer, I didn't want to do that. Control Z. I got to go to node editing. And now as you begin to bend that, you'll start to see those letters come back into play. It's still not going to be small enough. So I have to change my font size. So select my font and we're going to lower our font. And then that actually looks pretty decent. So now go back to shaping it and nodes. And that looks pretty decent right there. Now I can grab my coffee cup and my cookies, bring those in here. We'll shrink them down a little bit more. And I had something else in that other logo. What did I put? Hot cocoa and cookies. So I did another line. Put it on a toolpath. And hot cocoa, and cookies. Put that on the black layer. And it's way over here. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to hold my shift button, select my toolpath, right click, and apply path to text. And now go into node editing and grab that toolpath and bring her down here. And now I want to make those bigger. And that's actually pretty decent. Go back to node editing. Just the toolpath. There we go. And I want to bring that down to about there. And about like that. And put that all back in the fill mode. And that is Harry C's Soft Kitty Cafe. Yep. All right. So, questions, comments. And would it have been easier to build it all straight than rotate it as a group? I don't know. Possibly. But what if you didn't want it all at an angle? You know, yeah, but for that one, yeah, I guess you probably could have. All right. So Clack, he's asking, so after duplicating, control resize to get it to fit while keeping the curve control. I tried a couple of those different control shifts, whatever. I tried to make it because it needed to go wider as it came down, and I was trying to do control and then elongating it, not just making it all bigger. But I don't know. But Clack says either duplicate the lines and set to a tool before the cutout of the cross font. Several ways to go about it. Yes, lots and lots of ways to go about it. And as long as you get there, doesn't matter. And that's what he says. As long as it's the same result, or as long as the result is good, doesn't matter how you got there. Mm-hmm. All right. So are there any questions about anything that we've talked about here? And if not, are there any other questions? Because we are an hour into this. I can go probably another 25 minutes or so if you've got any questions about something in particular that I can address while we're here. And thanks you to everyone who has thrown some questions or some little coins out there. It is greatly appreciated. I have not put that prompt up here tonight. All right, ET's question. Any way to have one, okay, back to that question. Any way to have one laser in Lightburn set to inches and another laser set to millimeters without having to swap each time I swap the lasers? Of course, you can have multiple lasers, and of course, you can have multiple instances of Lightburn open. And as far as set to inches and set to millimeters, if you're talking about up here in the top, as far as if you want to change your default, I don't know that your default settings, I don't think are going to be anchored to a particular laser. You could change your defaults in Lightburn to where it's always going to open in inches or always open in millimeters, but I don't think there's a way to anchor it to a laser when you open it up. And I really don't know why you would want to do that. Don't know. I'm sure that you have a valid reason for doing it. I just don't know why I would ever do it. I work in inches and millimeters on the same design. I'm constantly toggling back and forth. But no, I don't know of a way to anchor a metric system to one laser and imperial to another laser. You can change your defaults to be one or the other, but I don't know of a way that you can do it to laser specific. Do you, Clack? And Clack says no. He says I would have to agree that the program setting is not machine specific. You can set it if you have one machine that you use primarily over the other, and you're constantly opening it up and it's in the wrong one. You can go into your machine settings and change your default and have it so that that's what always opens when you open that laser. Let's see here. Chicago, excellent tutorial. Thank you. I hope somebody learned something. In fact, you know what? That brings up a good point. I meant to tell you to do the same thing we did in the last live stream, that when you see something that you learned that you didn't know and you learned. So a lot of folks are watching right now. We got 88 people watching, and we don't have 88 people commenting because not everybody feels like they either should or could or want to, or they're just too shy even behind the keyboard. But if you just put in a 1 and an enter when you learn something, and a 2 if you learn something again, a second something new. Somebody started making fun of me on that in the last live stream. But you know what? They don't understand the analytics of YouTube, because that helps the chat rate. Like right when I was talking and showing you guys all these things, and everybody just went and started watching. That don't help me any. But by you putting in 1, enter, 2, enter, and it just creates chats in the live stream, YouTube recognizes that as people being active and participating, while you're actually being active and participating by paying attention to everything. Whenever you're telling me things that you're learning, how many things you've learned, it helps the analytics immensely. The chat rate during the live stream is important. Many things are important, but that's just one of them. And also, I have not passed the hat, and I want to add one thing, and I'm going to put the banner up here, ways that you can contribute. You've always got the super thanks that several of you have done already tonight, and I greatly appreciate it. But I have Zelle and PayPal and another option that'll scroll across there. But if you guys are not financially able right now to become a patron, that's it. Become a patron on Patreon. And nobody's mentioned these back here. This is my next gift to my patrons. I just made these letters, and these are 12-inch letters that spell out love, L-O-V-E. And they can be scaled down, but I've designed them so you can make them out of 12-inch pieces. And they are solid letters. And I'm giving that file to my patrons, all patrons, gold, silver, and bronze. But I'm going to create a complete alphabet. That is going to be a lot of work. But I'm going to create a complete alphabet of this, and my gold patrons will be getting the complete 26-letter alphabet. But if you're not able to contribute when you see me weekly or every other week, or send a super thanks, a way you can help support this channel is, and I know every one of you have bought from Amazon. When you go to Amazon, instead of going to Amazon.com, just simply put in hobowithwood.com/Amazon. And that's going to take you right to the same Amazon. It's not going to change anything about what you see or any of the prices you're going to pay. But that lets Amazon know that you went there because I asked you to, and they're going to give me 1/2 of 1/4 of a tenth of a fraction of a percent of whatever you buy, and that will help me out. So let's put that up here. So there are the ways that you can contribute and help keep this channel going. And where's my comments? There we go. Jack says, I just have one computer per laser. That's smart. He's got 1,500 lasers. He's got a house full of computers. All right. Questions. Okay, ET says I work in inches, but to get G code to work with WeCreate, need to use millimeters. Yeah, I knew there was a valid reason. I knew you had to have a valid reason. Yeah, I hear you, Jack. Yeah, too shy my butt. Let's see. Question mark. Good morning from Dubai. Hey, Dubai. Is there a way you can use Lightburn to control XTool M1? You know what? I'm going to have to defer that question. Maybe Clack might can feed it. Because, guys, I have made it no secret that I am not a huge fan of the XTool product. But that's because I had a very, very bad experience with my very first laser that was absolutely horrible. And I was 4 months into my laser adventures and was about to throw in the towel completely when I was noticed by Rich, Louisiana hobby guy, in my struggles, and he actually sent me a replacement module to help me out. But we quickly got away from that. And my biggest problem and complaint with them was when I was having troubles, I could never get anybody to help me. I could never get any tech support. I could never get any answers. I could never get any support from anybody. Can't say that about these guys. These guys are Johnny on the spot, boy. Tell you what, that's one of the greatest things about this company is they are. And you will not hear me get on a soapbox and brag about a product. I don't do paid endorsements. And even if I did do a paid endorsement, it's only going to be when it's a product that I really, really can get behind and understand. I was approached about doing a product endorsement, and I was looking at trying to negotiate something that we could do with Laser Maker's Realm. And a lot of things came to light. And it's a very popular laser on the market right now, and it's not XTool. A lot of things came to light during that negotiation that made me go, you know what? I don't want to endorse that product. I do not want to have anything to do with it. I don't care how much money they throw in my direction. And nothing ever came to pass. So if you hear me say, hey, this is something that I believe in, it is something that I truly use and or believe in. But I don't know about that XTool working with Lightburn, but we'll scroll down here and maybe Clack has that. I know that a lot of that is XCS proprietary. They want you, and that's the, and they're not the only ones. A lot of them are going to that where they are wanting to sell you product. They want to sell you. In fact, they might even sell you a laser at a pretty low price because not only they want to sell you a laser, they want to sell you all of your supplies and they want to sell you all of the graphics. And that's where they start making money. So, and that was a big determining factor for me when I bought my first laser was I did not want something that was locked to them. I did not want cloud-based. I did not want a software that was, if the internet goes down, I can't do anything. And that's what I liked about Lightburn and the fact that XTool was Lightburn friendly, and they have an excellent marketing team. They market their machines better than anybody. But I just never had that good of luck with them. But we'll see if Clack says if the M1 can be used. Let's see. Have fun. Okay. Beauty Bubble says, I've been following along with the project file. So hopefully with a project file open, hopefully you had success and you got something nice created there. Looking for question marks. Rick says, not a question, but just comment. This is why I watch. I learn something new every time. And man, I hope so. I hope I'm not wasting your time and my time. I enjoy what I'm doing. Some of you, if you've been with me for a while, you know, and I'll go off on a tangent in a minute, but before my heart attacks and my strokes, I was doing TV and movies and commercials and starting to get a little bit of local success and had some national spots, but then the strokes took me out of that wheelhouse. And so now to be back in front of the camera and be in charge, I don't have to worry about being cast anymore. I don't have to worry about showing up next to Will Ferrell and talking and auditioning a woman, and then they give it to this guy because his eyes are bluer than mine. And that industry is the worst because they can discriminate openly. It's like, okay, yeah, you're just not quite white enough. You know, and it's okay because they need a guy with blue eyes, not green eyes, you know, whatever. But having this, it's fun. I appreciate it. And so, but it's also great that you are getting from it. We're mutually beneficial. Is there a way to engrave a name and outline with a different tool path besides offsetting the shape? Is there a way to engrave a name and outline with a different toolpath besides offsetting the shape. I don't quite follow that. And this is the stroke. Let me see if I can. Is there a way to engrave a name and outline with a different toolpath besides offsetting the shape? I don't. I can't. From the way I understand your question, I can't think of another way. And that would be the simplest way. So, and I'm also very lazy, guys. I'm very, very lazy. I'm going to look for the easiest way that I can do something, and doing an offset to create that second line would seem to be the easiest way. And so while I'm lazy, and if you see something, you go, well, man, you just did that 10 ways too hard. Might be just because I just don't know the other way, because I am looking for the easiest way to do something. And Beauty saying that, speaking the truth about how YouTube works. And I tell you what, it's mind blowing. I learned something with YouTube practically every day too. Our Patrick on Laser Maker's Realm with us, he's having a little bit of struggles with his channel not getting pushed out by YouTube. And he's got great content, and he does really cool things. He's working with these fibers and making all kinds of cool projects. But he's not getting pushed out there. And it's all about the analytics, about the content, about how many people are subscribing. And that's another thing, guys. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, hobowithwood.com, hit that subscribe button down below. I haven't looked. I imagine at this point, I'm hoping that I'm now over 7,500 subscribers. So I'm knocking on the door of 10,000, but that's going to be my next big hurdle on YouTube. Let's see. Mike says he's learned 10 things tonight already. Thanks. Let's see. Yeah, right now they spell out. Yeah, because if I stack these, they go up and out of the view of the camera. Chris Gallagher saying, ET, you can just edit the $13 from 1 for inches or 0 for millimeters for the G code. Okay. So I don't work in G code, but if you didn't see that, ET, maybe that's something that can help you. Just change your dollar settings. $13 from 1 for inches and 0 for millimeters. And we got a Jeff Benedict. Hey, thank you, Jeff. I appreciate you. I really do. And wait a minute, Chris. Nope, that won't work. That will convert 1 inch to 1 millimeter. Oh, okay. Never mind. Forget that. Bad advice. Shame on you, Chris. All your patrons give some hearts out for Steve. Daniel, thank you. Learned a lot about text tonight. Thank you. If you Daniel, hopefully you've already watched the previous video that was not live, because there was a lot of good stuff in that one too. ET, design in inches and swap to millimeters to export. That's Clack's advice. Well, thank you, Steve. What does this button do? It cost you $5. That's what it does. And Randy was the one making fun of me for saying 1, 2, 3, 4. What do you say? Do you have a video on the lettering behind you? I may have already commented it and you didn't hear it. This is a design that I just finished that I'm going to be giving these letters to my patrons. These 4 letters to spell love or of or whatever. But I'm giving that design to my patrons, and I am working on a complete alphabet, all 26 letters, to do just that with. That'll be going to my gold patrons, but I'll be selling that file on my website. And Carl says Leo and Lasermatic are number one, and I tell you they are. And I just did an upgrade on mine. I don't know if you notice it or not, but my exhaust is going out the side here instead of out the back. Steve Springer asked about that and says, "Hey, can that be done?" Leo said, "Yes," and he did it. And it's a really nice complete kit. You get an entire replacement panel that can be put on the left or the right side, and a plug panel to cover up the previous existing hole in the rear. He has an electrical extension that allows you to move the fan to the opposite side that you don't need if you put it on the right side. He included with it some nice aluminum tubing so that you can put it on the back wall to run the wiring through, so you keep your cable management, wire management up out of the way. He thought of everything, and he'll ship it to you, everything for less than $40. I mean, the freight alone is probably half what he's selling it for. But one of the owners said, "Hey, can you do this?" And yes, he did it. Mike, have a cup of Java on me. Thank you, sir. I appreciate you. Ventari says, "I don't have an M1, but I think you can only export G code from Lightburn and import it into the XCS for it." And that's a way I see a lot of the guys are doing on those proprietary software. The XCS, I think we create, and a few others. You can create in Lightburn, and then once you create it, you export it out of Lightburn as the G code, and then you can upload it into that other software. Yes, Jack, I don't want to have anything to do with cloud-based stuff. George says 6.3. He didn't quite want to learn 7 things, but he learned 6.3 things. And Rick, thank you very much. Let's see. I was just able to put my atom stack in millimeters in one window and put my MK2 in inches in another window. Yeah, you can. If you've got multiple, if you have multiple instances of Lightburn open, you can set them up. But I think what he was asking was, is there a way that you can save it so that, at least I think, but you can have it as many instances of Lightburn in different windows open and have all of them at different settings because they're independent from each other. But you cannot assign metric settings to this laser and imperial settings to that laser. Did you paint Tweety Bird? Yes, Brandon, I did. And that's something else that's the, in fact, Clack, if you're still with me, that's one of my phone stands. And I got that one and painted it. I know you and Steve have got some acrylic pens that you guys really like, but these are the ones I use, and I've got those on my website, hobowithwood.com, and then in the supplies page. But Tweety was hand painted with those markers, and then a finish of the triple coat from Rust-Oleum triple thick glaze. And man, that's a super slick finish. That's a nice finish. Those paint pens do a really good job. I use the same Baltic birch you do and just ordered 2 more boxes before this live stream. From now on, I will go through Hobo. Thank you. In fact, I've actually got a link directly for that, Richard. It's actually hobowithwood.com/premium Baltic birch. That'll take you straight to Fryler's pack of 45. And I got to order 2 more boxes of that because I went through a ton of making those and making Christmas presents. I hope a few of you had a chance to take advantage of that file I gave away for the You Make My Heart Sing. That was extremely popular at Christmas. And that design is going to be popular come Valentine's too, because it's the hearts and the musical notes on there are hearts. So it's going to work for 2 different holidays back to back. Let's see. Brandon, we talked about that. Well, Terry saying you're not wasting anyone's time. That's for sure. Well, I got 92 folks hanging out on a Saturday night all over the world watching this redneck who's still figuring things out. I consider myself extremely fortunate and blessed that I do have the following that I've got. So I thank you for being here, each and every one of you. Because even if you aren't able to, in fact, I'm going to turn that off. Where's the banners? Turn that off. Even if you're not able to support the channel or support me in any way right now, just you being here is support. It's not support enough because I got to pay power bill, but it's support that is greatly appreciated. It will help those analytics. And Brandon says that I agree. Patrick does some really cool stuff. He went live the other day just out of the clear blue. I was in here working. It's bling, Patrick's live. I watched him engrave an axe head, and that was really cool. Eric says just made a logo while watching along. That's cool. Mentioning rivals to YouTube will push you down the list. Mentioning rivals. I don't know any rivals. Patrick's not a rival. I like, but as far as competitors, yeah, I am not worried about. And honestly, I am who I am. I'm going to be who I am, regardless if it's pro analytics or not. I do worry about those, but I'm not going to be me to benefit the channel. I'm going to be me, I don't know if I mentioned it, but thank you, Cal. It's greatly appreciated. Question: best stores to purchase supplies in bulk, like basswood and slate coasters and so on. Jesse, I don't use basswood. The only wood that I work with is the premium Baltic birch that you see there. It's 3 millimeter. And I've gone to the Lowe's and I've purchased some stuff there off the shelf. And when I want to do some rough mock-ups of stuff, but even when I'm mocking stuff up, if like those are all held together right now on complete friction fits. There's no glue in those boxes or those letters at all. And it's because the letters, the wood is so perfect. It's premium and it's not full of voids, and the cuts are always going to be nice, clean, precise. It costs me a little bit more money doing it that way, but I'm designing files that I want to sell, and I don't want to have problems with those files because I designed them and put them together and they worked, but they worked with the junk wood. And so I only work with hobowithwood.com/premium Baltic birch. It's by Freiler. You can buy 45 sheets at a time, and they come 12 by 12 sheets, 3 millimeters thick on average. Some of them are 2.8, some of them are 3.1. And as far as bulk coasters and stuff like that, this is my job. I don't do a lot of production because I don't have time. The time I spend figuring out what the next video is going to be about and figuring out the best way to accomplish those things, I don't have time to do a lot of other stuff. I am in the process of putting together a very, very special order for a very special somebody for a very special. I'm not trying to pull a clack on you here, but I don't like to name drop, and I don't want to jinx anything either. Not that I believe in jinxing, but I'm looking at engraving a whole bunch of flask that. But I'm actually not going to do the metal engraved flask or the stainless steel. I'm looking at getting the glass flask with the leather sleeves, and God knows that's going to stink. But I'm going to laser engrave the leather pouches that the flasks go in, and it's going to be for a very special moonshine for a very special person. And I hope that once I do, I'm sourcing that now, and I've tried talking to them, and they've got everything. They've got slate coasters. They've got them, and if I can make that come to pass, then I'll probably be endorsing them and put them in the channel because they're out of Texas. They're not coming out of China. Now they might get some of their product out of China, but they're shipping local here in the U.S. And that's important to me too, because when I want something, I want it in a day or two. I don't want it on a slow boat. So right now I don't have a store that I can say, hey, this is a great place. But I might very soon. And I'm crossing my fingers that these flasks come to pass. Because if I get that to happen, I might even ask him to pop on the channel and say hey to everybody. That'd be cool. Uh-oh. Chris says I can see mistakes just like you. I can see mistakes just like you. Yeah. I thought you'd seen mistakes I made again. Thanks for mentioning the side exhaust. Unfortunately, they are out of stock. Yeah, they are out of stock right now. And I made a video about that, and I'm probably going to drop it soon. I'm waiting for Leo to say, yeah, okay, let's do that. And you got to think about it, Richard. It's, he's not mass producing these things. He's making them in batches, and they're selling out almost as fast as he can make them. But if, let's just say he made 100 of them, which we know made more than that. But if he made 100 of them, only 30% might even want one of those kits. And, so you don't make a kit for all of them you've sold, manufactured. And so he makes up small batches of these. And when they sell out, if there's still a demand, he'll make some more. There is another batch of those coming up to be available. What I'd love to see is if he was to have the ability to order it and put it on back order. That, to me, as a manufacturer, it would be good, because if they're ordered and paid for and on back order, it shows the demand. And whenever I tool up to make a batch, I know I got to make this many, plus I'll make some for sale. But he's not a dumb man. The man is very smart, and it blows my mind when I open the box. I'm like, well, what's this for? And I got to look, and it's like, oh, it's got adhesive. You pull it off, and you can get the wire through there, and you stick it on the back. And that's if you're going to run the fan all the way over the other side. That way that wire's not just hanging down in there. I mean, he thought of everything when he put that kit together. It says, I asked Leo, and he said he will let me know when it's available. Yep. And if you have a Rolly Lasermatic, and you're not a member of the Rolly Automation Facebook group, the official Facebook group, sign up, join that Facebook group if you're on Facebook, because that's where I first seen this. And I ordered it right then as soon as I got it. And I bought it and paid for it. Leo didn't send that to me for free. I bought it and paid for it, and I was happy to. At, what was it, $36, $37? I was happy to pay that for it. You can't go buy this rated acrylic for that. Randy is asking how to be one patron. Go to patreon.com/hobowithwood. In fact, I'll put that banner back up there for right now. Scrolling across the bottom right there, patreon.com/hobowithwood, and you can become a patron there. And there are 3 different levels that I do ask for patron support. There's a gold, silver, and bronze. It's 3, 9, and 20. Of course, the 20 is going to be what I'd love to see everybody is a gold patron, but I'm appreciative of every patron I have. And what you get from me as a patron, gold patrons get a coupon that's good for 100% off of every digital file I have available in hobowithwood.com. Silver gets 80% off, and bronze gets 60% off. In addition to signing up now, if you go to Patreon and sign up now, I've been on Patreon now for a year. And if you sign up as any tier, you can scroll back and see all of the posts I've done on Patreon for the past year. And I've shared lots of files with my patrons that I haven't shared with anyone else that you can still download for free. So even if you only signed up as a bronze level patron at $3 a month, you're going to be able to go in there and see, tons of files that you can get for free and have that 60% discount on my website. But the reason I think that the gold is the better advantage for you, the better investment, is because, like I said, I'm going to give this file for love to all patrons. But the 26 letter alphabet, that's going to be only to gold. when I have a design that has multiple variations, I'll give one variation to all of them, a second and the first one and second maybe to silver, and then 3 variations to gold. There's not always multiple variations, but the gold tends to get more files than anybody else, obviously. So thank you. You know what? And I'm not even going to try and pronounce your name because I will probably butcher it. But I'm going to try. Is it Haniel? Is the H silent? Annual, like Spanish? But thank you. And the AED, I don't know what that equivalent is, but I tell you I woke up one morning, and one of the first things I do when I wake up is I look at YouTube and for comments and anything that I have and my patrons' questions. Anybody has anything that come up while I was asleep? I got a notification that someone like this, they donated 100 somethings, and I was, wow. And then I started Googling and looking at the conversion rate of what it was, and it was, a $5 donation, which was greatly appreciated. But I got my hopes bent out of shape whenever I was at 100 something. I was like, wow, okay. And I got more questions. I'll stay with you guys as long as you stay here with me. We still got 93 people watching, and we're not even talking about designs anymore. We're just talking and answering questions, and I'll do my best I can. Jesse's asking, when you use apply text to path, is there a way to control where the text starts along the path? Yes. And the only way I could do it is when adding space. Yes, you can. You absolutely can. And that's using those alignment tools. Whenever, in fact, let's jump over to Lightburn. Switch. So we're going to align text to path. We're going to select all of this, and we're going to all that work. Just say delete, goodbye, and we're going to put some text on here. Text to, and I put a text to path, and I'm going to deselect. I'm going to draw a line, straight line, and put it out here, and I obviously made that much longer than the text so that you can see this. But if I select that text and I come up here, align Y, right now it says middle. So if I hold my shift button and select that line and tell it to apply text to path, it put it in the middle of that line. And it also put it in the middle there because a line X and Y are both middle up here. But if I need that text to be, and we're going to undo Control Z. It's still, I did not go back far enough. There we go. If I change that to a line top, that's going to put it on the underneath the line, put the line on top. But if I change my line X to left, and now hold my shift button and apply path to text, it put it over here with the line being on top of the text and aligning it to the left. And if I select that and just change alignment right, it's going to put it over there on that side of the path. And if you go back, and this will be for Lori, go back over here to node editing, and that's aligned over there to the left side. You can still make the text bend and do whatever you want it to do, even though it's aligned over there. And you can simply change your alignment again, change it to the middle, change it to the left, and put the line on bottom, put it back in the middle. So yeah. And then as you said, if you're like, okay, well, yeah, I want it over there, but that's too far left. Well, then you just come back to your text tool, come in there to your text, and just put you a space or two in there to put it where you want. So Jesse, I hope that answered that for you. Hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully that works. All right. Da, 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 da. What type of deck do you use when you stream? Deck. Well, I just purchased, as far as my switcher for my videos, I just got the Phil World L4 multi-format video mixer. Uh, I'm this is only my third time using it, so I'm still fumbling with it and hesitating, but it does some really cool stuff. And I've got multiple camera angles that I can use with it, and uh, different ways that you can uh, zoom in and out or do your transitions. Uh, it's a fun toy. But I just got it before, and I got it because Patrick and Rich were making me look bad on Laser Maker's Realm, because they were always having all these multiple cameras and cool transitions, and I was just over here going, I got a laser back there. Yeah, that's what I got. So I had to keep up with the Joneses and got the Phil World L4. Uh, Tony, thank you. I greatly appreciate your support. And guys, I don't I have mentioned it in other videos, and I've done it a couple times this week. For my patrons, if they have problems or questions with files, I don't care if it's my file or a file they bought from anywhere else, they are welcome to send me that file and let me look at it and see what's going on with it and see if I can't help them. But whether you're a patron or not, you're welcome to do the same thing. My email is hobowithwood@gmail.com. And only because I've only got that one banner. So I'll put that back up there. So that's scrolled because the email's in there too somewhere. I'm pretty sure it is. But hobowithwood@gmail.com is my email. If you find you have a problem or something that's kicking your butt and you're like, I'm happy to look at it. And the reason I'm making that offer to everybody is it's a little bit selfish too. Because when I get to see files that you guys have purchased from Etsy or anywhere else that was created in Adobe Illustrator or in some other type of software that you've now imported into Lightburn and you're struggling with it, I can see the problems. And so the next time somebody has a problem, I'm like, oh yeah, you know what? I've seen that before, and this is what you got to do. And if it's a file that was created in Lightburn and I can help resolve that issue, I can see what somebody else has done wrong and help. And I will go so far as, when it's necessary or you are available, I'll even do this right here with you only. You'll come into Hobo's world and you and I will chat, real time live, and I'll share with you what I've got going on. And I've done that a few times this week, and because this is my job, this is what I do. So I'm dependent on generating revenue any way I can. Let's see here. And William says they're going to try that wood. I tell you, it's going to hurt your feelings, because that is the best wood I've used in over Father's Day this upcoming year will be 2 years I've been working, and this is all I've used for practically a year now. Hammer. I got a hammer somewhere. I don't know where it's at. Must be somewhere over on the assembly table. And Ed, I'm guessing you must have had to check out. I appreciate you being here. And yes, this is now an hour and 45. I was only looking at maybe 90 minutes, but we'll stay here as long as you guys are asking questions. I still got 89 people. It's just crazy. 89 people watching this dumb redneck. Let's see. Old Guy Designs. Thank you very much. Actually, the birch is cheaper by the sheet than basswood at this point, even with the freight. Yeah, I tell you, and I've like I said, I've been using that for over a year. And if you don't know this already, your environmental situation is going to affect your wood. If you're in a situation where you don't have it in climate controlled and it's subject to humidity and it's constantly changing, your wood's going to be warping and all that. I have not received a box from Freiler yet, but when I talked with them, he was actually going to be shrink wrapping those boxes of 45 so that once they leave his warehouse and they're on a container going across the the Pacific, and then being trucked from one warehouse to another, back and forth, all those different fluctuations in temperatures could cause adverse problems with the wood. So he was looking at vacuum sealing those packs of wood to prevent that from happening. But even before he started doing that, and then the entire year I was buying his wood, I only had one box come into me that was whoppy jawed, only one. And I go through probably 2 boxes a month. Beauty Bubble. I love that name, Beauty Bubble. All the clues make me so happy. Well, I'm happy that you're happy. Jack, I tell you, I just got an email confirmation that they're packing and shipping it, that I will have to sign for it because it's not something that you can go pick up here local. I've got 2 flavors coming, and one's just straight, and I forget the proof on it. It's pretty potent. And the other one is an apple pie flavored moonshine, and it's not as potent because of its flavoring and all that stuff they've done to it to give it its flavors. I don't drink like I used to. I used to enjoy a real good margarita, every day. But since my strokes, I can't partake like I used to. I've heard all my life alcohol is a depressant. Well, it never depressed me. But now that I've had my strokes, man, I get a little buzz going on, and I become Droopy the dog. I'm not the funnest person to be around. So I don't drink like I used to, but I bought this because it was the quickest and easiest way for me to get the graphics. I need the labels off the bottle. In fact, yeah, I'll hit you up when it gets here, and we can come sample, and I may end up just giving you the bottles minus the labels because I need the labels to create the graphics. That's all I want. Well, thank you, Kevin. From one redneck to another, I sent my thanks through Zelle. Always learn something from your streams. Guys, I appreciate it. And I've heard my phone. I've got my phone on silence, but it's on vibrate. And I've heard it vibrate several times while we've been here. So I suspect that there's been quite a few of you that have sent something through Zelle. That's my bank alert. And I appreciate it. Because Zelle, I get that instantly, and I get 100% of your donation. Google is, even your super thanks are greatly appreciated, but I won't see them until January sometime. Yeah, January, end of January. But I'll get them. Some of it. Is the side exhaust available? No, not for the MK1. He's only done it for the MK2. And I don't know that there would be enough of a demand for it. But as I was talking to Rich about it, Louisiana Hobby Guys, it wouldn't be that hard to do it yourself. Just a hole saw, and yeah, you could do it. You could relocate it pretty easily if you had a hole saw, a large 4-inch hole saw, which those aren't cheap. Those would cost you more probably than the kit would cost if it was available. If not, you could do it yourself. It's not that tough. If you're going to move it to the right side. If you're going to move it to the left side, then you would have a problem because your electrical is not going to be long enough. To the right side, you've got an excess, and it's all outside, so it's not a problem. Okay. Randy says gold it is. Well, Randy, if you signed up for a Patreon and become a gold patron tonight, thank you. I just signed up for a patron. That will be good for 12 months. I just signed up for patron. Will that be good for 12 months or have to be renewed on January? No, and actually the way I just had to learn this the other day. if you sign up for annual, it's good for your anniversary date. So if you signed up on 12/30 for 1 year, it'll be good until 12/30/2024. If you sign up on 12/15, your anniversary date's 12/15. And if you sign up and only do a 30-day billing cycle, you'll be billed the 15th of every month. They don't have your billing date is your sign up date. And if you do 30-day commitment, then you'll be billed every 30 days on the day you signed up. So you'll be sign up on the 10th, you'll be billed every 10th. And if you sign up on the 10th and you cancel on the 20th, your ability to log in will still be good until the end of your 30 days. 27.23. Okay, George, 999. I don't know what I don't know what that means. Okay, Jesse's got some clarification. I wasn't clear. Align a line of text to an ellipse and control where on the side of the text it is. I'm curious about something. I'm curious. Change that and change that. And we're going to select that, delete it, and put that on toolpath. Text. Checking alignment. Apply the path. Now, is that what you're talking about? So that was, if that's what you're talking about, that was pretty simple. You create your text. And if you want this to be, like I drew out a circle there, but we'll make it elliptical. So it's not a circle. But select that, hold your shift button, select that, apply path to text. That just put it upside down, but then using your rotate tool, okay, now that's going to rotate the whole ellipse. It's not rotating it on the ellipse. So maybe that's what you're talking about. Now can you, because that was a circle a minute ago, it looked like you were moving it, sliding it around the ellipse. That's locked to there. Yeah, actually, you know what? And I'll guarantee you, I know what happened there. This, if we look at this right here, I've got my alignment set to left and middle. So the Y alignment is middle, and that's why it's in the ellipse is through the middle of the text. But there I've got it aligned left. And if I turn on the nodes for that, and I'll have to convert it to a path to see the nodes. But I'll guarantee you, when I turn on the nodes or convert that to a path, the origin of that ellipse is going to be right there at that C. So it's aligning it left at the origin. And so let's convert that tools, edit, convert it to a path, and then show the nodes. And there it is. There's your green origin. So there, the alignment is putting it at the origin of that ellipse. So the only way I can see that you're going to move that around there is then come back here to your text tool and just start using spaces to move it around the ellipse. And I just went all the way back around. So there, you can do it that way. However you want to move, you can position the text that way. Does that accomplish what you're wanting to do? Yep. Oh, look at that. See, Clack's been doing this longer than I have. On circles, it uses the origin as its starting point. So, yep, there we go. And I figured that out. What about aligning start point text? What about aligning start point text on the circle path? I think that's what we were just talking about there. Oh wow! So Chris says you need to go into Node Edit and move the start point. Can you move the origin? Let's go back over here and select just that circle. Go into Node Editing. Now I've put a bunch of spaces in here, so that's why it's not at the origin right now. But he's saying you can move the origin. That's it's also going to change. It's not moving the node itself. I mean, it's not sliding the node. You're moving the node, but it's also deforming the ellipse. So yeah, I don't know that you can actually, you can't slide the node. At least I don't see you doing that. But I think for me, and because I'm simple-minded and lazy, the easiest way to move that text on that ellipse is using the space bar to move it wherever I wanted it to be. I don't know how that was going to affect the rest of the project, but for that toolpath, that positioning, I think that would be the simplest thing for me. Okay, and he says you pronounce it like Daniel, but with an H. And he's done the conversion for me. He says that's about $27. Daniel, thank you. Thanks for all you have been doing. I love watching your tutorials. Well, I love you watching. Thank you very much for your support. Let's see. The best place to download Lightburn and which one? Well, I just went to lightburn.com, I think it was, and got downloaded, and it blows my mind how cheap this software is. As far as which one, I think you've got different licensings available. As far as which type of laser do you have? Do you have a license for fibers? I can't remember if there was a different license I had to get for my CO2. There might have been. But if you're working with the diode, I think it's one of the least expensive options. But you want to make sure you're getting the license for the diode. It's been almost 2 years since I downloaded mine. I don't remember. But lightburn.com, and just make sure you're getting a license for your type of laser. And one license, I think, will allow you to do, I think initially it was 3 lasers you could have on there, or I'm sorry, you could put it on 3 different computers. But I think now they've upped it to where you can, if you've got one license, you could actually put that one license, I think, on up to 5 computers now. And it's cheap. God, it's cheap. Compared to other software out there. Zig, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Chris says Rich probably stole a hammer. He didn't steal mine. And I like mine. I don't know where I've got it, and I did it. I got 2. I got one little bitty one that I use, and that's called, I've got Woody Woodpecker on there. And if you didn't watch the episode where we did the powder coating, I used the powder coat in 3 different colors. I did red, blue, and black powder coat, and powder coated the hammer. So that, and Woody Woodpecker is the red crown and the blue and then the black words, but that's Woody Woodpecker, and that's my little pecker, little bitty hammer. Jesse said, just purchased that. Thank you, Jesse. I appreciate it. If you use my link, and I appreciate it. Brandon's asking, so what's your next laser going to be? A fiber? I want a fiber, but I don't have the means to go buy a fiber. And nobody's reached out to me and said, hey, here's you a fiber. You want to do a fiber? Here's. And I've been trying to get a 3D printer. I was actually told I was going to get a 3D printer, and it never came to fruition. I've been trying to get, but one of the lessons I learned when I bought my first laser, and this goes to anybody out there who maybe you haven't bought a laser or you're thinking about buying a second laser. I've got a lot of these open gantry lasers laying around here. I've got the Creality Falcon 2 over here, and I like that machine. I like it a lot. It was my first 20. That's actually, I think, a 22 watt laser, and I had that one before I got this 20 watt laser, and I really like it. And the open gantry lasers have a place. There is a place for them. I don't have that one in an enclosure. I've got the Comgrow Z1, another open gantry. I do have an enclosure for it. But as far as my next one, it'll be hard pressed for me to. I'm actually anxious to see what they have next. What's coming down the pipe? I don't know. I would like to have a fiber, but that's a big learning curve again. I mean, because listening to Patrick talk about having to change all these different frequencies and different pulses and and it's a unique animal. And so is the 3D printer, all the different things you got to learn. But that's why I think that these guys are kind of foolish not to say, hey, you know what? You want one? So we'll send you one. But I'm not going to I don't want one just to get one. What I started to say is I learned buy once, cry once. When I was trying to get one of the Creality, the Max, the big Creality 3D printer. And Rich was like, man, you don't need a Max. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's kind of what I want. And I don't want to learn on a toy and have limitations of a toy and then have to turn around and buy something else. If you are looking to buy a laser, this is probably, in my opinion, the best thing out there if you're looking for a laser in an enclosure. If you need to be doing large pieces, I don't want to be taking the bottom out of this thing and trying to move it around and engrave through the bottom and do the print cut stuff in Lightburn because of how heavy it is. It is a big piece of equipment. And that's what my open gantry is for. If I need to do, and I've got a job coming up that I'll be taking remotely to a job site and be able to just set the gantry right down, or the open laser right down on it, and do several different jobs on this backsplash. I wouldn't be able to do it with this. That's why I said there's a place for it. But buy once, cry once. If you buy one of those $399 lasers, it's going to be a $399 laser that comes with no honeycomb, it comes with no air assist, it comes with no rotary, it comes with no enclosure, it comes with nothing. And by the time you add all that stuff up and you buy all of it, you're going to want to, because you don't know what you want to do, you'll end up spending the money for one of these before it's over, said and done with. So, and if you're thinking about this and you're like, well, I don't know if I want the rotary or not. Well, don't get it with the rotary. The Chuck rotary is an option. Don't get it with any rotary. Get just the laser. And then if you decide you want to get the rotary afterwards, I think it's only like another $10 or $20 more than it would have been if you'd have bought it with it originally. So you can save the $200 or whatever it is for the rotary up front if you don't know that you're even going to be using it. But hobowithwood.com/Roly, ROLY, is the link to go check out the Roly Lasermatic and the Roly automation stuff. hobowithwood.com/Roly, ROLY. So that was my next fiber. Bob says, I don't drink anymore. I don't drink any less either. John's checked out, going to I'm hoping he's gone to bed. He says he's got to hit the bed. I don't know what I'm hoping he's hitting the bed and nothing else. All right, looking for any question marks. Jesse says, yes, you got it. It is possible to change where you start the point. Green dot is yes. Is it possible to change the start point? And I think you've just seen that I tried it. Yes, we tried it. Thanks for the suggestion, I think, from Chris. And if there's a way to do it, I didn't see how to do it. I think he's already started on down here. Create. We're getting there. Let's see now. Now I've seen everything. Steve put text on lips and moved it around. All right. Chris says, click create on a node and set it as start. Set as start. Click create a node. Click or create a node and set as start. Nodes. So I'm gonna insert a node here. Insert. And now how do you set as start? Click on node. I'm trying to right click. That don't do anything. Clicking on the node's not allowing me to give it. So you'll have to tell us, Chris, how do I now make that the origin for that to be the beginning point? I don't know. Clack says, what he says, add a node and assign it as the origin. Easier just to use spaces. Yeah. But how do you reassign? How do you? I know how to add the node. We just did that. But how do you make that the new origin? Night all. Yeah, Jack. Still waiting on Millmage. That's going to be another learning curve. I've got a CNC sitting there collecting dust, and not the right kind of dust, not sawdust. I've been waiting on Millmage. And if you want a 3D printer, I have an Ender 3 I don't use. I'm not familiar with that one. I thank you for the offer. Have a CO2 about release. Yeah, I'm so far along or so far behind on some of these comments and questions. These partial questions I don't understand. I'm sorry. My brain short circuits after about 30 seconds. All right, Chris. Text will move around a triangle once converted to a path. Looks weird on corners, though. Yes. Yep. You can once you convert it to a path, you can move it around any shape. Yeah, nothing beats the bamboo. Yeah, I would like to have a bamboo, but I thought that since I don't even have 10,000 subscribers yet, for me to reach out to Bamboo and say, hey, will you send me a Bamboo 3D printer? I'll be, wishing upon a wish. But Creality's been after me to do, in fact, they've even offered us, we'll send you a Falcon 2 if you'll review the Falcon 2. And I'm like, well, I've already got a Falcon 2. And I really do like it. So if I was to do a review on it, it would be a positive one. But I don't need you to send me another printer or another laser. Send me a printer instead, and then I'll do you a review on the Creality Falcon 2 I already have and your 3D printer. So we'll be getting 2 videos for one, plus all the follow-up videos after. I thought that was a no-brainer, but no, that didn't work. They not interested. All right, this is a long question. I just want to engrave ceramic coaster tiles quickly. And my 9-watt takes 9 watts going to be a little slow, which is way too long. What laser would you recommend? I want to make a nice tile engraving in like 15 minutes each. Well, in my early days, I did some of the Norton white tile method, and I experimented with a bunch of different tile methods. And the reason that I quit doing it is because of how messy everything was to do it, to generate it. And I've seen that, when you paint them black and then you paint them white and you remove part of but it's a long drawn out process depending on what type of finish you're wanting to get with them. So I quit doing it. And also, I think that was part of my problem with the reason I was struggling so much with my first laser. And even though I was cleaning it daily, the fact that I was using all of these different additives on top of these tiles, I was using the white spray paint, I was using zinc, I was using all kinds of different things. Those fumes and the that were being emitted from that, I think were compounding the problem and cracking those lenses. I don't know that. I speculate that. So be careful if you're doing that, and make sure you're cleaning your machine frequently, more than once a day. But as far as doing it faster, yeah, a more powerful machine than the 9 watt is definitely a step up. You've heard what I said, that this is the machine of choice as far as I'm concerned. And this one is all enclosed with a very good exhaust system. If you're going to be doing that light tile method, that you're going to have fumes from that, you want it to be an enclosure. hobowithwood.com/Rolly. Go check those out. And that would be what I would look for. Click B on node. Okay. Now, okay. Click B on node is going to break it. Does that change the start point? So I hover over the node and hit B. That, okay. It breaks it, but it also just changed that's no longer the origin. Okay. All right. So did you follow that? I do like the idea of using the spaces instead of doing the break, because now you have actually broken that shape. It's now, I just reattached it. Wait a minute. Did that break it and then reattach it? It sure did. And that's still the origin. Okay. All right, guys. Did you follow that? So let's delete this. Delete all of that. Because I just learned something. And if I just learned something, I'll share it with you. Guys, we've been here for 2 hours. Holy smoke. All right, go to circle. Draw out a circle. Put it on toolpad, or we're going to put it on line mode, rather. Line. Going to convert it to don't want that. Edit. Got to select it first. Convert it to a path. We got nodes. All right, now. So there's my start point. So if I put text on it, it's going to go to that origin. It's going to go to, that's the origin of that shape. And if I want my origin to be over here, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to hit the letter I to insert a node. And then I'm going to hit the letter B, and that initially breaks it. But if you also noticed, that is no longer the origin. That's the origin. But I hit B once just now, and it's broke. So I can move that around. But if I move it right back into where it was at to begin with and reattach it, it's now one piece again, and that's also now the origin. Now that is cool. I just learned that. Thank you, Clack. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That's something new. So, hey, we all just learned something new together, except for Clack. He already knew it. All right, facepalm moment. Clicked wrong button when I was in Vectric, not Lightburn, for creating start point and node edit. All right. I use color tiles, no paint. So it's just the laser right on the tile. Yeah, and I think Rich did some of that in one of the videos where he using the fiber. I can't. He got different colors from a colored tile. Yeah, and just more power, faster laser, more power will allow you to do it faster. Which laser is that behind you? It's the Lasermatic MK2, and I don't know if it's available right now. They've got the MK2, the MK3. The MK1 was obviously their first one, the Lasermatic 10 watt. This one is switchable from 10 watt to 20 watt. They have a switchable 10 watt to 30 watt. I think Clack has the MK3. I think he has the 30 watt. But hobowithwood.com/Rolly, ROLY, will get you to that Rolly automation page, and you can check that out and see what's available. It's a tool line, no issue if it's open. Yeah, except if it got moved and bumped, it's going to distort that shape, and then that could slightly, depending on where that, especially if it's the start point and it got inadvertently moved, then you would move where your letters would be at. Wouldn't make a difference because it's not going to engrave anything, but you could change the alignment of stuff. But there, that just reattached it, and it's still the new origin. So that's cool. And he says he uses the top node to use center align. Yeah, if you're going to do center align, top node center, done. Yeah, that'd be, yeah. Yeah, and he's confirming that he's got the 30 watt. And I don't get my feelings hurt easy, and I've got the 20 watt, and it does fine. You got sent out the 30 watt because that was what was available, and I'm glad that you got it. I'd love to see you do more with it, and I really want to hear how you're using that when you go out in your mobile clack shack, because any of you guys that are doing craft shows and events, that's what this thing was. I mean, it wasn't built for it, but it is perfect for it because it's fully enclosed. It's got all of the protective you need to it. So you ain't got to worry about some kid walking up and going, "Oh, I can't see." Everything's rated and protected. You can use it out in an open environment as long as you got good ventilation. You wouldn't want to do it indoors without good ventilation. But you've got the 30 watt. Rich has got the 30 watt. Patrick's got the 30 watt. I got 20 watt. But the 20 watt does everything I want it to. Steve, I got a lot. I got through so many hurdles with my first laser because of his knowledge of both Lightburn and that XTool D1, that if it wasn't for the knowledge I gleaned from him and from Rich stepping up and helping me out with my replacement module, I'd have quit 3 months into this whole ordeal. So yeah, I wouldn't say, but you spend more time with him. He might be annoying. And I think that's a battle between Steve and Dave as far as who gets the cool toys. All right. So guys, 74 of you still here. We're 2 hours. I did not. I was 90 minutes. You know what? I don't even remember how you do this. Boogity booty. All right. If you want to hang around for 2 seconds while I Google this, because there is a giveaway link to the StreamYard. And for all y'all who've hung around this long, I'll figure out how to do this giveaway, and we'll give away this cutting board I just did. Go here and go here. It's the StreamYard giveaway. We do it in Laser Maker's realm, but I've never done it. All right, create a broadcast. We've done that. Y'all here? Yep, y'all here. So we're doing a broadcast. Engage your audience. Are y'all engaged? Open a new tab. Open the StreamYard giveaway page. Choose your team. I don't know. Okay, the team stream. All right, so we're going to open this. Choose a live stream. Create a custom logo. And now I got to pick a text. All right, so the word to enter if you want this, and I went in and fixed all of the typos. So this is the one that's filled with errors. But this is about a 16-inch cutting board, and it's got the world's best oatmeal cookies on it. And I promise, this is some of the best oatmeal cookies you'll ever put in your mouth. The magic word is cookie. If you want that cutting board, and now for all you guys who are still with me and you're all over the U.S. and Australia, or all over the world, Australia, and I just went mind blank on where Daniel was at. I can only ship in the U.S. I can't afford to ship anywhere out international. So put in the word cookie, and all you got to do is one time. And we got 33 entries so far. If you're in the U.S., continental U.S., that's all I can afford to ship out. we'll do this drawing here in a few minutes. And I'll give you time to get that set up. And I'm going to pull this off the laser. Oh, my. Where's my brush? Where's my brush? Where's my brush? There it is. And I don't know if you guys are aware of this or not, but with the bamboo, you get some irregular burns sometimes. And what I found works for me for getting these to really look good is I got me a fancy $high brush. And I will actually aggressively brush that. I'll go at it hard. And because what I found is it's soot. It burns that, because this is not wood. You know that, right? Bamboo's a grass. And it'll burn that grass, but it will stay fixed to it. So if you go at it really aggressively, it'll get all that looseness off there, and it'll actually darken up. See how much darker best is compared to that? All right, so we got 47 entries, and we're ready to draw. All right, let's see. Well, actually, you want yeah, Chris says you can't afford the postage to me, and you're right, Chris. You know what though? If I could, I'd hand deliver it. But I don't know if I'd leave. They probably wouldn't let me in the country because they know I wouldn't leave. All right, we're ready to draw. Here we go. Let's see. I've never done this before, so I don't know if I hit this draw button, is it going to automatically pop up on here? We're getting ready to find out. And draw. I don't know if y'all are seeing this or not, but it is, winner is VT Maker Doc. I don't know if that populated on the screen or not because I've never done this, but VT Maker Doc. If you will email me your shipping address at hobowithwood@gmail.com, hobowithwood@gmail.com. Send me your shipping information. I will get this in the postage and get it out to you. What's tomorrow? What day is this? Today's Saturday, March Sunday. So it'll go out, and then you got New Year's. So I probably won't go out till Tuesday because of the holiday. Normally I get it out the next day, but we just got bad timing. All right, so anybody that's still here, tomorrow we will be live on Laser Maker's Realm at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Laser Maker's Realm, me, Rich, and Patrick, 4 p.m. Eastern time, and we'll be doing our year-end wrap-up, and it's also our first full year. We'll be recapping some of the stuff we've done and just having a good time and doing some more Q&A. So if you can make it, and if you're in an appropriate time zone that's convenient for you, I'd love to see you there. I appreciate each and every one of you guys. Who would have ever thunk 2 hours and 25 minutes and still have 70 some odd people watching this? Thank you. Thank you very much. Make sure there's no more questions or comments, guys. I hope everybody has a very safe and happy New Year. I do really appreciate your support this past year. I've grown a lot, both in my abilities and with YouTube, and it's greatly appreciated. All right, guys, as always, I never know when this thing's going to end. So happy New Year. Be safe, be smart, try not to drink and drive, and I will see you in the new year. And I'm ending the stream, and I'll just keep talking because